So lots of folks that came to the open garden event brought plants with them. We appreciate it. Lots of plants for the native garden over here and a few non-natives over there. We've gotten, I guess, about half of them in the ground this morning. There's some that are going to go in the entryway to the garden up at the very front up there. It's not the easiest place to film because of sunlight sometimes over there. All of our herbaceous perennials in the native garden are in a space right here where I've thinned the wood chips way down. The wood chips are as much as 6 inches deep over here in the rest of the garden, and everything is doing great in it, all the woody shrubs and trees that we've planted over here, but the herbaceous stuff really would not like to go in 6 inches of wood chips like that. So I've thinned this area out, and I've shown it in a couple other videos. We've made this corral bigger and bigger, but we have several things that went in this morning. We're just keeping them in this corral. A lot of these things will wake up bigger, better, fuller in the spring. You know, they'll have runners and they'll be quite a bit bigger. But it'll be next spring, I think, before we start, when they pop back out of the ground, that we'll dig them up and place them in their kind of permanent spaces out here. I think that's the best strategy. This has worked really well so far. They like this organic material, but they wouldn't like it. You know, they also want to be down in the soil a bit as well. But lots of things are flowering out here that we had planted earlier. And this morning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 here, and a few others that we'll show you on the other side. So let's talk about a few of these. Several of these won't be blooming at this point. If they had been in the ground all season, they would be blooming right now, but a lot of them have been kind of pot restrictive a bit. So that's why the mountain mint here. This is a Pygnanthemum muticum, which is the 2025 perennial plant of the year. It's a native. That thing can get moving in a garden for sure, but it's well worth it if you've seen the amount of bees that this that the mountain mint can get on them. It's just unbelievable. It's not the showiest flower in the world. So you put other showy flowers around it, and then what ends up happening is the bees end up on it, which is always kind of interesting. Blunt mountain mint is the actual common name for this particular mountain mint, and it'll bloom July to September, kind of pinkish flowers on it, pinkish white flowers. New growth is really striking during the growing season. It's just a good looking plant all around. There was a reason it got picked. A straight native species got picked for perennial plant of the year. Super interesting. Over to the right, there's a Lismachia. This is the lance-leafed loosestrife. It's native, zones 4 to 8. Almost everybody watching can grow. It's adaptable to wetter conditions. A lot of these natives are adaptive to those conditions. It is native to North Carolina. It has pretty much continuous yellow flowers on it throughout the summer, purplish new foliage, or burgundy, slightly burgundy new foliage on it when it's coming out, but a native to a very wide range from Wisconsin down to Florida. And it'll get maybe 12 to 18 inches tall by 12 to 18 inches tall, maybe a little taller than that, but it grows pretty densely. So it's probably a good one to have, to displace some weeds. It'll grow thick enough to do that in the future. And then just back behind the camera, just a hair, there's a Carex, woody eye. This is a low-growing Carex that forms a really super dense mat. When it emerges in the spring, it'll have a blue-green hue to it. And then that's about the size it's going to get during the growing season, 14 inches tall or so, or less. But it'll get about as wide as you want to let it get. So it'll slowly but surely, take over an area. It'll work in a kind of a no traffic lawn area if you were trying to create kind of a, something that looked like a lawn. This is another one of those semi-evergreen Carexes. So the further north you are, the less likely it is to be evergreen. The further south you are, the more likely it is to be evergreen. We'll talk lots more about these as we end up moving them into the main garden and get some size on them in the future. But this Aloysia is a super interesting one. This one's called Punky Brewster. This one was found by Patrick McMillan, and it'll get 10 feet tall over the course of the summer. And this is one of the few dryland plants that we have out here. Most everything out here wants to be pretty evenly moist, but this one will take much drier conditions overall. It gets thousands of little vanilla scented white flowers on it. Goldfinches absolutely go crazy for this one. So while it may not be the showiest thing in the garden, it's definitely going to draw in pollinators and goldfinches to the garden, which is a lot of what we're trying to do here in this garden. And then it blooms on new wood. So if you don't want it 10 feet tall, you can just treat it like a butterfly bush and cut it back during the growing season, and it will just flush back out and start blooming again. But again, this is a verbena family member that's very, very drought tolerant. There is a salvia as well, a native salvia, Salvia lyrata, lyre leaf sage. This one, you know, typically these salvia, these mint family members aren't eaten by deer, but the deer will occasionally take the flowers off the top of this one. They'll get kind of lavender flowers from mid-spring to mid-summer. So this one's an earlier flowering salvia overall. The last of the flowers, it's kind of interesting on this one, don't actually open, and they produce a fertile fruit inside. So it's a kind of a strange switch over that it does. Has reddish new foliage typically during the spring. This one will take, this is another one that would prefer moist conditions, and it can actually be water inundated occasionally. So, you know, this is, you know, this one will really, really take wet feet if you had a spot for that, but a really interesting salvia member. Someone brought us bugbane. We can remember selling this way back in our rake and hoe days when we sold lots of herbaceous perennials. Herbaceous perennials have been interesting to me in my 40 years in this business, where they tend to come and go a little bit, where we go through periods of time where everybody's experimenting and planting lots of perennials, and then, you know, perennial borders can be a little bit of maintenance, and I think that's maybe why they fall off a bit in time. But, you know, we love them. I love plants that seasonally change, and and you know, some of them can move around a bit. We're able to deal with that in the garden here. White flowers in June and July. They're fragrant. Always have. Again, I've known this plant for 40 some years. One other, what else do we have over there, Steph? We got this skull cap. Okay, yeah, there's the skull cap is right in front of it. That'll get 2 to 3 feet by 2 feet wide, something like that. It's a Lamiaceae member or mint family member, and we've had deer and rabbit issues the entire season out here. So nice to put in some of those kinds of things, just because we have, again, we have a deer issue that we have not had. We've had passing through deer, but we've never had what we have going on right now, which is just a deer has just set up shop here that we're having to work on. Another one that's kind of drought tolerant. So this one is, you know, this one we can put wherever in this garden over here as we move it out. That's the kind of thing we're going to have to pay attention to as we're moving things out, is that we don't have, we're going to have to be very particular with where things go. We're trying to match up things. You know, we've got this entire group of perennials that's now in these little 3 bays here. Some of them are full sun moist, some of them are shade moist, some of them are, I mean, it's all over the place how different each of these plants are. So again, we've put in lots of other things in the garden this morning. What else did we put in over in the main garden over there, Steph? We put in some green and gold. Somebody brought us 3 green and gold. What else did I just plant over there? There's an elephant ear. It's not over here in the native garden, but it's in the other garden over there. There's an aromatic aster, figwort, several other things. And will be a narrow leaf white top sedge. Yeah, you can go in on that actually, Steph. Really cool plant. This is another deer resistant one that will take, again, another one who kind of wants slightly marshy areas. So, but there's some of the things that we've gotten in. We have like 20 more plants back on the back step. So thank everyone for bringing things in. If you didn't see it in this video, you'll see it at some point as we move things about here in the garden. We're about to do a little bit of traveling, so we got to get everything in the ground really quickly. I had to skip the worst of the heat, trying to get it all in the ground now and make sure that I'm getting it in a spot that will, you know, I got a mixture of things over here from, you know, when we say natives, we could have rocky outcrops. In North Carolina, we could have rocky outcrops that get very little water, and we could have boggy places down toward the coast. We could have, you know, sand hills type plant. I mean, just a wide variety of things, but then a lot of them are adaptable to other spaces, you know, so we find that out as we go as well. But you guys will see this stuff migrate into the main garden. You'll see more of the things that were brought to us over the next few months as we're filming content here in the garden. So thank you guys so much again for coming to the open garden. Obviously, you never have to bring us anything. We just am happy that everybody came to the garden, and we got to put some, you know, some of the people that do a lot of the commenting below the videos, you know, put a face on a name, you know, that we've seen over the years. So all that was fun. We really, really enjoyed it, and thanks again.